What's going on, everyone? It's Adam here from No Shelf Space, and we're talking Star Wars Shatterpoint. I have been playing Shatterpoint for the better part of about a month now, thanks to my friends at Asmodee Canada and Atomic Mass Games. And I'm here to tell you all the things I don't like about Star Wars Shatterpoint, all the things I wish could be changed and were different, because there are a few things. I love Star Wars Shatterpoint. I've been playing it a lot. I will keep playing it. I'm excited for what's to come. But you go online and you can see all the people saying all these good things. So what sucks? Let's talk about it. Okay, number one, the price. It's an expensive box to buy. I think in Canada we're looking at $169.99 plus tax. You're up around $200 tax in. You get a lot of stuff. Yes, you get the terrain. You get 2 full squads, so you can play right out of the box. You don't need to have multiple core boxes. That's amazing, but it is such a hefty price to pay when you compare it to other core boxes for other tabletop games. You're either going to like it or you're going to hate it. It ain't going to change. You are getting a lot of stuff, but it's expensive. Number one, it's expensive. But number two, there's just not enough of some of the stuff in the box. And I think that bothers me a little bit more just because of the price. Frequently when I'm throwing dice, whether on defense or on offense, I need more dice than what the game provides. Now, you can buy a dice pack in Canada, depending on the store you go to. That can be anywhere from like $18 to $25, I think, somewhere in there. And stores are going to vary on price. But there's just not enough dice in the box. And I'm not talking about having to like pass dice across the table. Like, okay, give me the attack dice. Here's the defense dice. We do our thing. All right, here's the attack dice back. Give me the defense. I'm not talking about that. As much as I hate that, it's just there's not enough dice. Like, there are times where I'm throwing 7, 8 defense dice if I'm hunkered or I'm covered. On offense, I might get extra dice for sharpshooter, for focus. And there's not enough. So I'm like, well, I'll throw these 8 dice, and then I got to like kind of record what I've done and then grab 2 more and roll those. So I think 3, 4 extra of each die would be really good. If there was 12 of the gray attack dice, if there was 8 of the blue defense dice, I think in most situations that would work. Like, that would make it okay. So I'm disappointed not to see more dice in the box. Same goes for the measurement tools. Now, the measurement tools I feel a little bit differently than the dice. I do wish there were 2 sets of measurement tools included in the box, or at least 2 of the 5 measuring tools. So you got the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. At least 2 of the 5, because you can use the 5 to measure 4, 3, 2, 1 just by looking at the back. You can see the different areas, right? So if there had been 2 5s in there, I think that would have been great. Each player can have one. I would have liked to see 2 dash tools in there, and I would have liked to see 2 movement tools. The other ones, I think, are just kind of extra. Grab them, share them, put them in the middle somewhere. But again, those are the 3, like, distance, dashing, jumping, moving. You're constantly reaching across the table, back and forth, trying to share these things. And I think in terms of costs, it's more expensive to add a whole extra set of dice in the box than it is to add a few extra markers. I don't need the whole set doubled. I mean, at this point, my father-in-law, we've purchased additional dice sets and we've purchased an additional measuring tool set. So now we both each have our own. But even just in that core box, I just wish there were a couple more measurement tools. Again, a 5, a dash, jump, and a move. I think that would have been great. There is no reference card in the box. Why is there no reference card in the box? Now they tell you, hey, you look at the back of the rules. It's got all the symbols and everything. It's not that great. I've seen a lot of people online. They've created their own reference tools. You can go find them, print them out, give one to each player. There's so much going on in Shatterpoint. And at the same time, there's not a lot going on. Once you kind of get into the groove of playing, you'll remember some things. But if you were to step away for a week, week and a half, and you come back, a reference sheet, 2 reference sheets in the box, piece of paper. I think that could have been really, really great. Give one to each player, and then you can easily see, hey, this is turn order. This is what the symbols mean. This is when you can and can't do these for a couple of the more complex things in the game. Just would have been nice. Reference sheets, come on. Maybe in future printings. Would love to see that. This is more one that isn't impacted by anything. You can take this advice that I'm going to give and apply it right away. Star Wars Shatterpoint. This might be a controversial statement. I don't know. Star Wars Shatterpoint is a better 2v2 game than 1v1 game. It's a better 2v2 versus 1v1. Now, I know why they put 1v1 on the box or 2 players on the box. It's because, yes, you can play this with just 2 players. You don't need 4. You don't need 4. But with 1 player, especially the first even half dozen times you play, running 6 character cards and 8 figures is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I think it ruins, actually, the experience a little bit. Because, one, I find tabletop gaming, skirmish gaming, there's a social aspect to it. You like to talk with people around you. When it's 1v1 and you're running all these different cards with all these different abilities that trigger here and trigger there, and trigger on your enemy's turn, trigger on your turn, trigger when Mandalorians do something, trigger when a secondary character, you're constantly running your head down the table, reading all these cards, trying to figure out, do I have an advantage here? Oh, can someone got wounded? I can do a 5 dice attack. Things like that. When you're running all of them, you're bound to miss stuff. And if you're not missing stuff, your turns are 3-4 times longer than they really should be, because you're like, hey, hold up a second. I got to read all my cards because I think I can do something. I just don't remember who's doing it. That could be a memory thing for me. It really could be. But I've enjoyed my 2v2 matches of Shatterpoint where each person at the table is taking a squad of a primary, a secondary, and a support unit. So you got 4 people. 1, when someone's taking a turn, 1, they have someone to talk to. Hey, what do you think about this strategy or this approach? But 2, the other people can talk. They can talk about the game. They can talk about other things. When it's just me and my father-in-law playing, when he's trying to figure out what he's going to do on his turn, I can't be interrupting him, asking him what he thought of the hockey game last night. Like, that doesn't work. And so I feel like there's a lot of quiet downtime in a 1v1 game as you try to figure everything out. When you just have 1 squad that you're playing, it's a lot less work. He's doing something. Oh, you got wounded? I only need to check a couple cards. Oh, you dashed? Can I dash? Oh, you did this? Can I do this? It's just a lot easier, and I think it's just a lot more fun, 2v2, and I would love to see them expand the actual size of the map to introduce, when they bring in this more stuff, allow 3v3. Allow me to put 3 squads out there. 4v4. Just make that play area wider and wider. It would be a lot of fun. There's not enough damage tokens in this game. They need some 3 damage tokens, and they need a whole lot more of 1 damage tokens. What we've been doing is taking damage off of wounded enemies before you're technically supposed to take the damage off, just because we need the damage to put on other characters. Maybe they didn't expect us to damage this much. But yeah, more damage tokens. Minor, but another sheet would have been fantastic. My last thing that I was going to harp on a lot kind of actually got fixed a couple days ago with a rule update. Now, when it comes to these tabletop games, there are tons of rule updates. There's tons of clarifications and things like that that are going to keep coming out and keep coming out and keep coming out. Because I don't know if this is the best written rule book I've ever seen. Now, to be fair, the world of tabletop skirmish gaming is fairly new to me. My father-in-law has been doing this for decades and decades and decades. I've been to conventions where there's tabletop gaming. I've done it before. It wasn't my thing. And I think it was because, I mean, to be frank, I didn't know anybody at the table. My father-in-law was off playing something else. I was with people I didn't know. And I'm not a very outgoing person. So I'm not going to start chatting with people around the table to get to know them. But Shatterpoint's my real first tabletop skirmish experience where I'm really enjoying the game. But the rule book was just convoluted. It's very dense. It's very hard to get through. You're trying to figure out where stuff is. The glossary is not that great. And I come from board games. As you can tell behind me, I've got hundreds of board games behind me. 300, 400 board games behind me. It stretches down the wall that way, and it keeps going up. And I played board games with bad rule books, and bad rule books, they make the start of the game frustrating. I'm glad to see Atomic Mass Games updating the rulebook. I think that's really important. And I hope they continue to do so, because when I first popped open the book, it was a little bit of a mess. And this even goes back to that earlier thing where I said, why is there no rules reference? Guys, thank you so much for listening to me nitpick about a couple things about Shatterpoint. Before I go, I want to tell you guys, I love this game. I think the core box, while expensive, if you're going to invest in Star Wars Shatterpoint, I think it's a fine price. I think it's you're going to get a lot in the box. You're going to get that terrain, which is important for this experience. You're going to get the terrain. You're going to get a full set of units so that you can play with somebody else. There's no 2 core boxes needed. You don't need to buy expansions. But if this is something you think, hey, I'm going to invest in this experience. Maybe you're done with Legion, or maybe you never got into Legion and you want something a little bit more focused. Shatterpoint has just been a phenomenal experience for me, and I think it might be something you want to check out. Just remember all these things I just said, because when it comes to what I don't like about Star Wars Shatterpoint, you just heard it.